What I would say is that the science, I think, has been clear for some time on not only how well these vaccines work, as you alluded to, but also how well they protect you, how well they work in terms of preventing you from getting sick, but also how well they work in terms of preventing you from becoming infected, and most importantly and most recently, how well they work in terms of making it unlikely you would pass the infection on to someone else. You remember, Jake, you say, well, I'm vaccinated, why do I continue to wear a mask? Why do I need that? Well, the idea was that maybe you could be an unwitting carrier, a silent carrier of the virus still. I think the data, and I just got off the phone with Dr. Walensky, I'll tell you as well. I called her because I still had some questions after these announcements. But one of the big things was the data that came out over the past couple of weeks really showing that even if you've been vaccinated, and even if you tested positive for the virus after you've been vaccinated, which does happen, rarely, but does happen, the data is now increasingly clear that you'd be very, very unlikely to then transmit the virus to somebody else. Vaccinated people are still largely protected. So the unvaccinated people who are doing this are putting other unvaccinated people at risk. That's the real issue here. You're basically seeing two communities emerge, the vaccinated community and the unvaccinated community. As a vaccinated person, you were wearing a mask because up until recently, over the last month, the concern was you could still be an unwitting spreader of the virus. That seems very, very unlikely now based on pretty recent data. But so you're not doing a disservice to your community by no longer wearing a mask if you are a vaccinated person. The unvaccinated person could be putting other unvaccinated people at risk. That's the truth. And they're going to have to figure that out. Whether institutions are going to say we want to have some sort of proof of vaccination, who knows? And that's going to be a tough call for a lot of these places to sort of make. What I think was unfortunate, frankly, and this was a communications problem, was that they seemed to also intimate that it would protect you from getting COVID at all, from carrying it. And there was not great evidence behind that.
No shit!
And, you know, we reported as such.
That's bullshit.
That you don't have great evidence that shows that. When you have a vaccine that's protecting it against illness, it's usually protecting in your lower respiratory, in your lungs. So you're not getting that really, really sort of a deep illness. But you might still have it in your mucosa, in your mouth, in your nose, in your upper airway. So you could potentially still be carrying it and still potentially spread it. That was, I think, a communications error. And I think, frankly, Governor, I think it led to a lot of distrust overall of these mRNA vaccines. You said I couldn't get COVID if I got this. Well, I got COVID and I spread it. So what is this? Is this a vaccine or is it not a vaccine? That was a problem. They seem to also intimate that it would protect you from getting COVID at all, from carrying it. And there was not great evidence behind that. And, you know, we reported as such. What I would say is that the science, I think, has been clear for some time on not only how well these vaccines work, as you alluded to, but also how well they protect you, how well they work in terms of preventing you from getting sick, but also how well they work in terms of preventing you from becoming infected. And most importantly, and most recently, how well they work in terms of making it unlikely you would pass the infection on to someone else.
They got your ass on camera.
Niggas ain't got me in no fucking camera.
This is the clearest video I've ever seen. This is the most HD shit ever. This is 4K. How did they get you in 4K?
That ain't me.